Going on to what we do next and what's our strategy going forward, because there are a lot of politicians who do speak on it in the Dáil, but how would we imagine maybe trying to up the media around it, trying to up the interest, and eventually trying to exert more pressure to eventually get the US military out of Shannon?
Yeah, and
either one there, go first.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many parliamentary questions have gone in and debates that are had, and I suppose what undermines it a little bit is that we've had those examples of politicians saying one thing and then going into government and saying another, and that's not just on this. So it's how do you get that kind of critical mass effect where you're actually, the way I always look at it is, look, politicians react to what they feel is the public sentiment and the voices that shout the loudest. Sometimes the loudest voices aren't necessarily the majority, but that's the nature of politics, is that, if your constituents are contacting you on an issue, you'll start to pay attention. And I think that's where possibly it's trying to mobilize a wider group, and whether it is through the use of social media or a more targeted campaign of all elected reps and trying to put them under pressure. Because I get the sense that politicians will go, yeah, I don't get asked about it. I mean, nobody pressures me about this. It doesn't mean it's not an issue that's important to them. But if they're not hearing it, then they're not feeling the pressure that they have to effect a change. So, I mean, I would be looking at, could you get the likes of an Occupied Territories Bill type motion into the Dáil, and around that then build sort of that pressure in advance of it, and putting, to get politicians to support it, and that's kind of one of the things that I've worked on campaigns, and it's probably where my strength is on the Ibrahim campaign, on the Stardust campaign, and how do you get cross political support, but also one of the things that worked on both of those was every single month there was something that was newsworthy. So you were creating the story and just finding a slightly different angle and a way of just keeping it constantly on the agenda, and then building up to obviously something that's tangible that politicians can stand up to. So whether that was the resolution in the European Parliament or the postcard campaign with the Stardust. So I think that's kind of the key. You've got to put this on people's agenda just constantly, and then you have to put the pressure on the politicians to make them know that this is an important issue for me, and I want you to start taking a stand.
Yeah, because I think you did right about the loudest voices often being listened to rather than the majority. I can't imagine there's massive support in Ireland for the US military using Shannon and all. So we have a load of questions here, so I'm going to move straight on to them 5 minutes early.
Before we go on to that, could I just chip in on that? I think it's worth noting that we're going in the right direction now in terms of re-establishing our neutrality and getting the US military out of Shannon, because I'd imagine that a large percentage of the opposition right now would vote in favor of getting the US military out of Shannon and re-establishing Irish neutrality, not just this nonsense military neutrality that our governments talk about. And the other thing that Lynn mentioned earlier, which provides us with an opportunity now, is the Security Council membership, and the fact that our actions are in direct contradiction of our rhetoric around the independence and empathy and all those things that we claim to be when we got that seat. So I think we have to push that one as well, and we have to work with the support that we do have already in the Dáil and the Shannon to do what should be done.
Yeah, I think you did right.